My name is Zog, and let me tell you, living on Mars is not all it's cracked up to be. Forget what you see in the space brochures. My family lives in a tiny crater on the dusty, red part of the planet. It's not exactly a Martian mansion. We eat rehydrated nutrient paste for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It tastes like chalk mixed with sadness. My dad says it builds character, but I think it just builds a strong desire to eat literally anything else. My room is so small that if I stretch all three of my arms out at once, I can touch every single wall. It's basically a closet with a sleeping pod. School is even worse than my tiny room. There's this big guy named Glath who has 5 arms, which is 2 more than me. He uses his extra arms to be extra annoying. He's always taking my lunch paste, which is a joke because it's disgusting anyway. But it's the principle of the thing. He calls me Zog the Bog because my family's crater sometimes fills with green mud. It's not very creative, but it still stinks. I try to avoid him by hiding in the science lab, but he always finds me. He says my head looks like a lumpy potato. I guess he's not wrong about that. Every day is pretty much the same routine. Wake up, eat chalk paste, go to school, get bullied by Glath, come home, eat more chalk paste. Stare at the red rocks outside my window. Sometimes, for fun, my little sister Slorg and I will have rock-throwing contests. The goal is to see who can throw a rock the farthest without it just rolling down the crater wall and hitting our front door. Usually it hits our front door. My parents say things will get better. But when you're living in a hole in the ground, it's hard to see the upside. I spend most of my nights looking up at the stars. There's one little blue dot that always seems to twinkle brighter than the rest. My teacher told me that's planet Earth. He said it's full of amazing things like water that falls from the sky and giant green things called trees. That sounded way better than red rocks and dust storms. I would dream about leaving Mars behind. No more Glath, no more nutrient paste, no more living in a glorified ditch. I just wanted to go somewhere, anywhere, that wasn't here. A place where maybe my head wouldn't be compared to a root vegetable. One day, something incredible happened. It was just after another thrilling session of Dodge the Spitballs from Glath in history class. The school principal, a very tall Martian with wobbly antennae, called me into his office. I was sure I was in trouble. Maybe for accidentally setting the lab on fire last week. It was a very small fire, to be fair. But he wasn't mad. He was holding a shiny data pad and told me I'd been selected for a special program. I'd won an intergalactic scholarship to study on another planet for a whole year. I couldn't believe my ears. Me? Zog the Bog? A scholarship? I thought it had to be a mistake, or maybe one of Glath's super complicated pranks. But the principal showed me the official seal of the Galactic Education Federation. It was real. He said my application essay about the effects of red dust on adolescent alien boredom was groundbreaking. I didn't even remember writing it. I was going to another planet, a whole new world. My 3 hearts started beating so fast I thought I was going to launch into orbit right there in his office. The best part was that the scholarship was for planet Earth. The blue dot, the one with the sky water and the trees. I ran all the way home, which is mostly just running in a circle inside our crater. I burst through the door and told my parents the news. My mum started crying happy tears, which on Mars looks like little puffs of steam coming out of her eyes. My dad patted me on the back so hard he nearly knocked me over. Even my sister Slorg said it was cool, which is the highest compliment she can give. It felt like I had won the lottery. That night, I didn't even mind the taste of the nutrient paste. It tasted like victory paste. I started packing my things, which didn't take long. It was basically just my favourite rock, a spare uniform, and a picture of my family. Glath tried to trip me at school the next day, but I just floated right over his foot. I was Zog the Scholar now, not Zog the Bog. I was leaving Mars and all its problems behind. I was on my way to a better life, a place where the opportunities were as big as the sky. I couldn't wait to see what Earth had in store for me. The information packet for Earth was amazing. It had pictures of these places called cities. They were like giant forests of shiny metal and glass that reached all the way to the clouds. There was one called New York, with buildings so tall they probably tickled the sky. People were everywhere, walking on paved ground, not red dust. They rode in little metal boxes that moved without legs. The packet said there were places you could get food on every corner, with thousands of different flavors. I imagined eating something that wasn't chalk-flavored for the first time. It was a mind-blowing thought. I spent hours just staring at a picture of a place called London. It had a giant clock tower and a big spinning wheel that looked like a carnival ride. The people there drank something called tea from tiny cups. It all looked so fancy and important. I pictured myself there, wearing a cool earth hat and walking through big green parks. Maybe I'd even get one of those moving metal boxes for myself. I would send pictures back to my family on Mars. See? I told you there was more than just red rocks. I'd write on the back. They would be so proud. My friends at school, the two of them, were so jealous. They kept asking if I would see famous Earth celebrities or eat something called a hamburger. I promised I would try everything. I imagined my new school would be in one of those huge buildings. It would have a library with millions of books, not just a handful of dusty data pads. My classmates would be sophisticated earthlings who talked about art and science, not who could throw a rock the farthest. I would finally fit in. No one would care that my head looked like a potato. The night before I left, I couldn't sleep at all. My mind was racing with all the possibilities. I would live in a luxurious apartment, not a crater. I would have hundreds of friends. I would eat pizza and ice cream and all the other weirdly named Earth foods. My life was about to become a movie. A grand adventure in a place where everything was new and exciting. Mars was my boring past. Earth was my bright, shiny future. I was ready for the good life. The shuttle was leaving in the morning, and I was ready to say goodbye to Mars forever. The journey through space was long and wobbly. I spent most of it pressed against the window, watching the stars zip by. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ship's computer announced our approach to Earth. I saw the blue dot get bigger and bigger until it filled the whole window. It was beautiful, with swirls of white clouds and big patches of blue and green. The ship began its descent, and I held my breath, trying to spot the tall buildings of New York or the big clock of London. But all I saw was a lot of brown and tan land. The ship landed with a gentle thud. The ramp lowered, and a wave of hot, dry air hit me. I stepped out, my three eyes blinking in the bright sunlight. I looked around, expecting to see skyscrapers and bustling crowds. Instead, I saw dusty roads, low buildings made of concrete, and a few palm trees. It looked a lot like Mars, just with more beige. A man with a friendly smile and a large moustache walked up to me. He was holding a sign. I squinted to read the Earth letters. It didn't say "Welcome to New York." The sign had big, friendly letters that spelled out, "Welcome to Syria." Syria. I checked my information packet. I flipped through the pages about New York, London, and Tokyo. I couldn't find a single mention of Syria. The man with the moustache shook my hand. "Ahlan wa sahlan," he said cheerfully. "We are so happy to have you at our humble desert research outpost." Desert? Outpost? This was not the luxurious city life I had been dreaming of. This was not the shiny future from the brochures. This was just a different kind of red dust. I looked from the sign to the dusty landscape and back again. For a moment, I thought about getting back on the ship and demanding to be taken to London. But the ship was already powering down. This was it. This was my new home for the next year. I took a deep breath of the hot, sandy air. It wasn't the fancy, exciting Earth I had imagined. It wasn't a big city filled with pizza and celebrities. But as I looked at the man's smiling face, I realized something. Sometimes life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you Syria. Like and subscribe for this unlucky alien.